It's Movie Time is produced by John DeSando. Listen to shows and read reviews online at wcbe.org.
I'm John DeSando.
And I'm Kevin Carr.
And this is It's Movie Time.
It is.
Now look, I like Amanda Seyfried.
I do too.
She was nominated for an Oscar.
She was.
What's she doing in these horror films? That's at least 2 I've seen in the last year.
I know what's wrong with horror films. You say that, you disparage horror movies right off the bat. How dare you?
It is a bit déclassé for me, except for Silence of the Lambs.
Well, Silence of the Lambs did win Oscars. Yeah.
But anyway, she was in What You Should Have Left with Kevin Bacon last year.
Yeah, that was last year.
The Airbnb business.
Well, what's funny is because it was, again, like a house thing.
Yes, a house thing. Well, that's big. I mean, come on, of all the tropes.
Well, haunted houses
moving into a
yeah.
new house.
They're easy.
So you have one called, what do we call it today?
Things heard and seen.
Awkward.
You always want to say seen and heard.
Or not.
Yes.
Seen and not, heard or not seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if there were things not heard or seen, it would be a short movie.
But typical of this film, I think it probably comes from Immanuel Kant.
Sure.
Somewhere or another. It's a variation of the philosophy.
The famous horror movie writer.
Okay, so Kevin, I've introduced this so I can hear you tell me about what you think about this Amanda Seyfried in this film.
Well, first of all, you got to know what the movie is.
I think that's important.
Yeah, the movie is about this young couple. They live in New York, and they've got a daughter, and they move upstate because the husband gets a job at teaching at a college, and she reluctantly moves with him, of course, because they're married, and they have the daughter with them, and they get a nice house in the country that has hardwood floors and a wraparound porch and a ghost. So that's always what you got to have in a movie.
And and that's this New York State
Mm-hmm.
has become a bit of a hot spot for horror films. At least I remember last year there was one, I've forgotten the name of it.
Sure.
It was with the 2 women who were in the farm.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm drawing a blank on
Okay, yeah, all right. Anyway, so in the Hudson Valley,
Yeah.
known for artists
Mhm.
who have depicted very natural scenes,
Yeah.
romantic scenes, and one of the things I like about the film is it weaves this in along with Kant.
Yeah.
It
It weaves in the art because he's a literature professor. No, he's an art professor.
art history, right?
Yeah,
And she's an artist,
correct.
and we're jumping around because I think there are several things going on here. One of them, I'm so interested in what women have to give up, or what a partner has to give up for the other partner when they get a job.
Yeah,
We have a friend, Johnny and Summer,
sure.
where they could, if she hadn't gotten the job that she could do virtual, she might have had to leave
Yeah.
to take this job.
Well, sometimes you got to go
Wow.
where the money is, and to that point, I find it interesting. And I've not read the book. It's based on a book, so I've not read the book. I don't know when the book was written, but it takes place in the early '80s.
Yes.
And I think that was an appropriate setting because right now there's a lot of non-traditional relationships, let alone non-traditional
Right, thank you.
gender roles.
Yes, good.
Whereas in early 1980s, it was a little more rigid, and so the woman had to give up.
Yeah,
her
you
career.
got it. Great point.
The woman had to be the one who takes care of it, and the woman is the one who never leaves the house.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't know anybody there, and it made the story easier to go down that channel.
And I always like to think, as a side note here, I don't have to put up with cell phones in movies.
That's the other thing the cell phones have been so devastating to horror movies in a lot of ways because you're stuck in the house, call 911. Come on,
right.
They always every single movie now you gotta have the signal's not working.
Right. Or it's impelling the action, and I love it better through human beings than technology.
Yeah, and that works because and on top of it, because it's a haunting and then a ghostly presence. Well, there's a presence there that reacts to her. Is the best way to do it. And you don't really even know what it is.
Yes.
And you eventually find out, but you don't know really what's behind all that. But it's affecting not just her, but it affects the radio, it affects the lights in the house.
Well, the goddamn electricity's going on and off, and they have the clown lamp.
Yeah, that's utterly horrifying. I don't know why you put that in a child's room. Unless you just wanted nightmares.
I know. Well, we've got a lot of the familiars
Yeah.
there, and they're jump scares and so on, but not as many as we've often seen.
Well, and the other thing this does, and there's a movie that came out in theaters just recently called Separation that does this as well, and we've seen this. This is a very common thing going all the way back to the Amityville Horror and stuff like that.
Yes.
Where you have domestic issues, you have domestic angst and feelings
Oh.
that manifest themselves and are symbolized by the ghosts
Exactly.
and the
Yeah,
haunting.
yeah.
And I think they do that really well. with
Oh, they
this.
do, and that's one of the things I truly enjoyed about this, is that the relationship between husband and wife, and that's James Horton,
I think so, yeah.
yes, and Amanda Seyfried, between husband and wife, is fraught.
It is, and you're facing challenges of any early marriage. By the time you reach 20, 25 years, you kind of have figured each other out. You're too tired to do anything
right.
about it if you want to a lot of times. But in this, they're a young couple, so there's still going to be that give and take and the loss of your own dreams or the merging of your dreams together. And sometimes that doesn't bode well. And there's a give and take in relationships, and sometimes you realize somebody's giving more than taking.
Yeah, and we do have a commentary on those of us who have been in academe, and particularly getting your first job,
Yeah.
and the charismatic professor, the effect on female students, all
Yeah.
seem trite, but it's true.
Well,
And-
yeah, and the politics behind
Oh,
just navigating that
yeah,
world.
oh my lord, yes. And so, but I love it at the moment when he says that he just finished his PhD, and he got this job in Upper New York. So, oh, Bard?
Yeah.
No, this is Saginaw College.
Yeah,
Somewhere, right? And always that disappointment when they didn't
It's
get
not
a
what
top
you
tier.
expected to
Right,
be,
didn't
yeah.
get it. What are you settling for? Well, in academia, there are hundreds looking for that job.
Yeah. Two other things I would point out. One of the things it does, and as I mentioned earlier, I'm a huge fan of horror movies. If anyone knows me, knows that. This thing surprised me in a couple of times. I'm not necessarily saying it scared me, because it's really tough to scare me in a horror movie. But it went places I was like, I did not expect that to happen. and kudos to the movie, because usually I can see moments like that coming a mile away. But when you can do something that kind of surprises me, or then it gets me interested, and I'm like, oh, let's see where this goes now. That I thought was a huge, probably the best compliment I can, just because I've seen so many things done.
Sure. Yeah.
And not that I've not seen that done, it's just they held it away well. And there's also some great other performances. You got F. Murray Abraham.
Oh,
as-
what a loss not to have him through most of the movie.
Yeah,
he
he
is an excellent choice as the chairman or
Yeah.
his department.
Sort of his mentor. And
Yeah.
it's a small part, but also Rhea Seehorn from Better Call Saul.
Oh, yes, right.
And she's fantastic. And I wish, again, that she had more, but she does a lot of good stuff with
And
what
for
she's
our
doing.
buddy Wayne Miller,
Uh-huh.
Karen Allen,
Oh,
his
yeah.
big love.
Oh, is that his?
Yeah, that's
There you go.
she's the one, and she's there. I'm having a look. Who is this real estate agent? And I'm going, oh, I think that's Karen Allen.
Yeah. So it's nice to see some familiar faces in here.
Yeah. All right. So, Kevin, so you and I was surprised as well at things that I liked here. Although, and I think that the things that I knew were coming, as you did, are staples that horror aficionados expect.
Yeah.
I mean, they know this is how it eventuates, but this is the formula.
But, well, it'd be a short movie if it was. They moved to a house and there was no ghost, and they lived happily ever after.
I know, and the whole water motif, the boats,
Yeah.
all seem to fit in so well. And as I mentioned, both Kant and he even mentions Thomas Polk, I think is the name of one of the artists. And in this, they try to weave that in. They don't do a lot with it, but I really liked the presence, and F. Murray Abraham certainly emphasizes the Immanuel Kant influence in the area. But that which fits so well in the horror tradition with the connection between the living and the dead.
Yeah.
And there's life that goes on after, and we're seeing it here in the horror film. It's nice to have some kind of a mystical connection.
Well, and that usually only shows up in horror movies.
Yes,
nowadays.
yeah. It was nice to see the philosophical. All right, Kevin Carr. Boy, we sure have rambled all around this, but the film is Things heard and seen. Very interested to know what grade you're going to give it.
I'm gonna give it an A minus. I enjoyed it.
Oh, wonderful! That's terrific. And I'll keep us honest by giving it a B plus.
There you
But
go.
I have to say I admire your A minus.
Well,
And I
thank you.
probably would have gotten there before you.